that's the key job. And so I think anytime you look at an education policy, you start with what's the most important thing a governor can do, or a mayor, or legislator, or whoever it is. And I think you start by saying we have to fix the failing schools first.
Okay, well, I mean, there's still some people who are in those failing schools who, say, hey, by the time this thing gets fixed, it may be a major problem. I want to know, can I get vouchers maybe to go to a private school? Would you support something along those lines?
Conceptually, I think vouchers are a good idea. I think they've been shown to be that way. In terms, again, of my education policy, am I going to lead with vouchers? No. I mean, because I think the governor's primary job is to fix this broad, this broad system of public K-12 schools that we have. Do I think that vouchers can play a role? Yeah. Do I think charters can play a role? Yes. But again, the governor's primary job has got to be to fix the K-12 schools that we have.
Okay. A lot of people talk about fixing the schools, and a lot of people say the teacher tenure system has become so difficult to actually fire bad teachers that it is more or less allowing bad teachers to stay in place. Would you talk about, work with, or try and push ending teacher tenure?
Well,
or adjusting teacher tenure?
I think that is fair. I think one of the things that makes our let me say this. It's all about getting great teachers in the classroom. That's where we can all agree. Everybody would agree that
we don't love it.
In the end, right? In the end,
but there is a teacher shortage.
I understand. So what you have to do is to make that profession more attractive. And one of the ways I think you do that is you also increase the pathways into the classroom. In other words, if you're I think last year, I think my numbers are right, we had one new physics teacher enter the high school system statewide. Okay? So, and as you know, starting next year, every high school student to graduate is going to have 3 years or 4 years of math and 3 years of science. The demand is going to go up. So why don't we do things like work harder to get more retired physicists from Oak Ridge National Lab who'd say, hey, I'd like to give back to my community. I'll go teach. Let's make it easier for that person to do that so that they don't have to go back and get recertified as a teacher and all the things that are going to discourage them from doing that.
That's great, getting people in, but I would wonder, how do you feel about getting people out?
I think that's right. Well, let me ask you, here's one of the things I ultimately believe. Any institution, whether it's a hospital, a church, a business, a school, a football team, whatever it is, the quality of the institution is determined by the quality of the leader. And one of the things we have to do in education is push more responsibility and more authority down to the principal level, the on-site leader, and more authority and responsibility and accountability, so that that principal has the authority to make the hiring and firing decisions at their school, so that I guarantee you nobody knows who the strong and weak teachers are at a school better than the principal, period. Not the people in central administration. And so we've got to do everything we can to push that down to the school level. Part of that means giving our principals a different kind of training than they've had in the past, too.
Okay. Education funding, prioritizing. I mean, everybody say, well, yes, I'd love to spend more on education, but there are different areas, and there's only a certain number of dollars to go around. So sometimes it's going to be prioritizing. Yes, I want this. No, don't want that. It's not that I don't like this, but there's certain things you have to pick and choose.
It's a very nature of government. People don't understand. Government is about deciding between valid competing ideas. It's not usually good and bad ideas. It's multiple good ideas, and you got to pick.
So what I'm going to ask is, I'm going to give you a bunch of chooses and say which one would you prioritize and say, yes, I'd prefer this over that.
Okay.
We have limited education dollars. Would you prioritize more money going to teacher raises or hiring more teachers?
That's a good question. You have to look at the roles. I mean, I'd probably say, given that choice, I'd say teacher raises. But again, you have to look at anything like that in the context of a bigger.
Obviously, yeah. Do you support the governor's pre-K program?
Here's my view on pre-K. I think the jury's out on its effectiveness. Okay, and so I think there's certain situations where particularly in some of our lower income situations where it makes a lot of sense. That being said, given our current budget situation, I don't think I could make universal pre-K a priority to add in to what we have right now. I do see some value in it. I don't think universal pre-K would be a budget priority for me right now.
We have, obviously we have money, and some say let's put more into pre-K. Some people say let's put it into K through 12. If you had to make the choice between the two, where would you put the money?
At this point, K-12.
Okay. If they said, okay, we have money, we can either put it in pre-K or school infrastructure, which would you choose?
Well, the difference there is pre-K is going to be more of an operating cost. It's an ongoing once you go there, you're every year, every year, every year. Infrastructure is a one-time capital cost. So I don't know that, hopefully, we're setting up our choices where you're not, a dollar spent on operating dollars versus capital dollars is two whole different things, because one's recurring and one's not. So I would force the people back, say, wrong choice. Let's decide between competing operating costs versus competing capital costs, because they're different.
So you're looking more toward a capital cost, is that?
No, I'm just saying I would differentiate those things. You
Well, I
shouldn't
mean, a
be-
lot of times with the lottery scholarship and the way the money is funded, we can only do certain things with the lottery money.
I
We
understand
can
that.
put it into pre-K or we can put it into infrastructure. If you're given that choice, say that there's an influx of money, would you say, hey, we need more pre-K classrooms, or we need to work on infrastructure?
Well, again, one's a capital and one's an operating, okay? So one's recurring and one's not. So I would go back to question the choice. That being said, I think the answer is always going to be different at each different point in time. Right now, I'd say that probably needs to go a lot more toward capital. I mean, when you have schools, when you have,
Infrastructure
yeah,
costs.
right, infrastructure. When you have schools meeting or classes meeting and converted mobile homes and things, then we're going to need to put that in infrastructure.
Okay. With a lottery scholarship, would you choose more pre-K classrooms or more scholarships? No easy questions.
Yeah, well, like I said, pre-K, as I said, given our current funding, I'm not sure that would be, I'm not sure either of those would be given the pressure we have on our education budget, I'm not sure either one of those would be one of my top two choices. So
with the lottery, we're sort of fixed in where we can spend that money.
Right.
We can either spend it in scholarships or
Right.
pre-K or infrastructure. We've gone through the infrastructure. Now, if you had
Right.
a choice between pre-K or scholarships,
I'd probably right now well, that's a hard question. I mean, probably of the three, I'd probably take infrastructure first, given where we are at this red hot minute.
okay, where's your number two?
That'd be a hard one. Probably more towards scholarships, but again, that's going to be a shifting pie.
Okay. With scholarships, you can do certain things. You can say we're going to give more money to each scholarship, maybe pay for more of the tuition, or we can offer more scholarships at the same level that it's at, maybe not covering all the expenses. Which would you rather choose? The more money for each scholarship, or more scholarships with less money?
Never thought about that question. I don't know. I'd probably, like I said, I had never thought of that question. I think it's good. I'd be in favor of keeping the higher standards, and so that we have. I know that. Probably would be in favor of, I guess, fundamentally, I'd say more scholarships rather than more money, funding more people rather than more money.
Well, to fund more people, you have to lower the standards to let more people
I
in.
understand that, but I'd probably try to. I don't know. Like I said, I had never thought about the question. I mean, I think high standards
Okay.
is part of our problem. So I don't want to go against that. On the flip side of that, the more I might try to if you could, fundamentally, I'd try to refocus one of the things we're doing here is we have a program called Knox Achieves that's helping kids who are basically first-generation college students, their parents have never been before, go to community colleges. Stuff like that's making a huge difference. And so if we could expand our target audience, I think that would be
Okay,
a
so
helpful
lower the
thing.
standards, expand it to more people.
But I'd keep the standards once they're in school.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Changing the standard to get in, would you say we need to go more toward a merit-based system or a need-based system where maybe some people who are economically disadvantaged to get a little bit more money or get a better opportunity?
Yeah, well, like the program I just mentioned, I mean that's a need-based system once they meet a minimum threshold, and I think we're going to have to increase the number of people who attend school, post-secondary. So I probably would look toward going to more of a need-based system, but I would make it, again, it'd be merit-based once you got in. You'd have to make a certain criteria to stay in and keep the scholarship.
Okay. UT, higher ed, they're at a budget crunch.
Yeah.
They're hurting for money. They're saying, I mean, they've said this for years, we need more money at the state level. Obviously, with limited dollars, are you in support of giving more money to higher ed, or say we've got K through 12 who's got needs and you can raise your own tuition? Raise your own tuition, cover your own problems,